Hi, my name is Danielle Lowe. Thanks for checking out the video. Hopefully you had an opportunity to see the overview video. And now I'm going to go a little bit more into depth for Common Core math for the kindergarten grade level for counting and cardinality. So with your Common Core standards, the first one is CCSS math content. It's KCCA1. Okay, and what that states is count to 100 by ones and tens. So what that means is by the end of the school year in June, your child will be expected to count to 100 both by ones, rote counting in order, and also by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. As far as the pacing, that is based on your school district. So for example, in my school district, the children have to be able to count. First we start by counting to 10, then by 20. So the pacing might be different, but for your individual child, if your child can count to 10 accurately, then I would start introducing a few more numbers. Usually the teens are very confusing, so they'll say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So like, just repeat the numbers so that they could hear it, and the more they hear it, the more it will commit to memory. As I said in the overview video, Jack Hartman has a wonderful video and CDs called Move Into Math, and he does a lot of things to songs, so the kids are singing them. And when they sing, that music intelligence helps them to remember that later on in when they're trying to recall, excuse me. Same thing by counting by tens. If they have a problem, for example, when they get to 13, they'll say 11, 12, 15, or 16. Usually those numbers, they get confused. Try to attach like a movement to it. That way it will help it stand out. So maybe 8, 9, 10, 11, or 8, 9, 10, 11. Try to attach some kind of movement, because every time you cross the midline, it helps to align the hemispheres of the brain to help it to retain new information and process. So any time that you can attach some kind of a movement. I even did something a while back called palm swirling, and that it would trigger the kids to remember if they had trouble. If they memorized it by doing an action, that action would sometimes trigger them to remember the information. So anyway, that's KCCA1. KCCA2 is count forward beginning from a given number within the known sequence. So basically what that means is if you give your child a number, what comes next? So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hey, what comes after the number 6? Oh, I bet you don't know what comes after 9. Like any kind of games that you can do like that for a few minutes, that's going to help your child. So this way, they might, especially new language learners, might have to start from 1 so that they can remember what comes next. But we're trying to build that automaticity. And what that means is that fluency, basically that they can answer it fast. So at first, they might have to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh, 6. But as you do it more, even when you're getting into the car, or if you have a few seconds here or there, hey, do you know what comes after 7? So just have them count up from a given number, and that's basically what KCCA2 is. And KCCA3 says writes numbers from 0 to 20, represent a number of objects with a written numeral 0 to 20. So in essence, what that means is the numerals itself, so that they need to be able to count by the end of kindergarten, once again, up to the number 20. So this is the numeral 2. It represents the quantity 2, which is something different. But the numerals themselves, at the end of kindergarten, they have to write 0 to 20. It's very, very common that when they're writing developmentally, they might write a backwards 2. And that's completely normal. What I would suggest is having a number path or something out so that they can look. So when they do write that reversal, you can say, hey, take a look at the way that you wrote the 2, and then take a peek over here at this one. Do you see how they're different? Can you make yours look like the one on the number path? So you could just have numbers, and don't overwhelm them. At first, if they're beginning learning, just maybe do a number path from 0 to 5, and then maybe 0 to 10. And I probably wouldn't exceed 20 unless they're really have a strong foundation and they're strong in that mathematical skill. And then you might want to have a 100 chart up. So this way they can look someplace, because as adults that's what we do. If we don't know something, we usually jump to Google. We go, as long as we know where to look for accurate information, that is a resource and a strategy that they can use. Let me see, did I address all that? Oh, also number reversals, it's important, especially in June. Some kids, they reverse their numbers, which is completely normal. But when they get to the teens, it's really important that they know that the numeral 1 comes first. Because if they're trying to write a 12 and they write 2, 1, it's really changing the quantity to 21, which is not accurate. So later on in the school year, once they've mastered 0 to 10, when they start, it's really important that you point out the value of 10. So that's when we do things with the 10 frame. So there's going to be a lot of counting, which I'll do in one of the other videos, for 10 frame drilling. Excuse me. And the 10 frame kind of looks like an ice cube tray, except it only has 10 spots instead of 12. 4, 6, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a bad impromptu 10 frame. But basically, if you flash the 10 frame and they have this, they should be able to say it's the number 1. And then I actually they call it a 5 frame in the beginning of the school year, so this way, okay, I'm going to show it to you. Let's see how fast you can guess it is. 1, good. And do that up to 5. So the more that they see it, what they'll start to do is put the pictures together so that the quantity equals the numerals. So when we do activities like 10 frames, when they have, let's say that this is all filled in, I don't want to waste your time by filling it in, but then I have 1 extra, I would say that this is 10 and 1 more. So that would be 10 and 1 more, which is 11. So I'll go more into depth in that in the future, but basically it's just getting that child really building the foundation. And I want you to, if your child has issues at a certain spot, stop there and backtrack. You want to build their self-confidence. So if they get to the number 12 and they're struggling, don't push them too much. Maybe go back to 10 or 11, give them a few activities to build up their self-confidence, and then while they're doing other things, you keep on counting out loud for them. Let's see if you could get your shoes by the time I counted 13. 12, 13. So this way they're hearing it again, and that next time when you ask them, hopefully they'll be stronger in their answer. Let's see. KCC B4. Okay, I'm sorry. That's counting to tell the number of objects. So B4 is actually, it says, understand the relationship between numbers and quantities. Connect counting to cardinality. So basically what that is taking a step back again, that they need to understand that this is the quantity 2 before they can attach it to the representation of the numeral 2. So this is the amount, and this is the symbol to represent that amount. So as far as establishing a relationship, they might have something like this, or you might draw something like this and have them write the number. How much is that? So if they can tell you that this is 5, that's one skill. They understand and comprehend that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, it's hard for me to do this backwards. But that's a skill, and have them point to it when they count. If it has a large amount of numbers, like let's say it's 12, sometimes what I teach my students is when I count it, just put a little mark on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because otherwise, sometimes if it's in a circular position, they might count around and around forever. So just putting a little mark is just another strategy to help them accurately count. So drawing numbers and having them tell you how much it is, and then once they do, then have them write the number. So sometimes they can process what the amount is, but they don't understand the number, and then we misunderstand and think that they don't know what the quantity is, but that's not where the problem is. So that's what your teacher is going to be doing. She's going to be looking to find out where your child is having problems and create lessons to help strengthen that. But you can also do that at home as well. Let's see. The next one is KCCB4A. When counting objects, say the number names in the standard order, pairing each object with one and only one number name and each number name with only one object. So that's basically doing a memory match. So if they're flipping over two cards, if you're playing a game, and then they flip over the two, and they have a two, oh, this is a match. So you could do games like that with index cards. You can pretty much do it with anything. You could take out forks and put them on the table and just put out numbers and have them create a set to match that number. Clothespins are, the dollar store has so many great things that you can use very inexpensively. Clothespins, you could just have a number, even 5, and then have them put 5 clothespins or 5 paper clips or 5 stickers on there. Or once they move up, you can give them the numeral and then have them put 2 stickers on there to match. So there's so many things you can do to strengthen that skill. KCC before B. Understand that the last number name said tells the number of objects counted. The number of objects is the same regardless of their arrangement in which they're counted. So that basically means if I have, I'm just tired of using the 5 and the 2, so I'm going to make a new one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Now normally I would do this in a 10 frame, so this is a different orientation because they're just kind of random, but not necessarily. So basically when I'm counting, I'm pointing, and I'm always gonna, I try to do it always from left to right because that's how we teach them for reading. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That they know the last word I said was 7, so that quantity is 7. That's what that standard means, and that basically means if it's like this, or if it's like this, or if it's like this with 2 more dots, the quantity is still the same. It's completely developmental and normal that if you have 2 cups of liquid and one's in a larger container and it looks like less, even though it's the same amount, the child will think it's a different amount just because of the size of the container. And that's what that standard is addressing, that regardless of how they're set up, if you have 10 paper clips set up vertically, horizontally, randomly, it's still going to be the same amount every time you count it. Okay, KCCB4C. Understand that each successive number name refers to a quantity that is one larger. So that kind of piggybacks on the other one. What comes after 6? What comes after 8? Okay, we're moving along. CCSS. We're doing KCCB5. Count to answer how many questions about as many as 20 things arranged in a line in a rectangular array or a circle, or as many as 10 things scattered. Given the number from 1 to 20, count out that many of objects. Alright, so in simplicity, at first I would give them up to 5 objects, either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Have them count it, and then change how they're laid out, have them count it again so that they understand it's the same. When you have 7 and then you turn it this way and say how many, and they say 7 like that, that means that they're starting to get it. Okay, and asking them questions, asking them to explain their thinking is something that would help them as well. And comparing numbers, KCCC6. Identify whether the number of objects in one group is greater than, less than, or equal to a number in another group. So you might want to have these 2 groups. Now we know this is 7 because we counted it before. We know this is 5. So which one has more? The 7 has more. Which one has less? 5 is less. How do you know? Okay, and then having another one with 5. Which one is greater or which one is less? And that's a good conversation because at first they're going to be confused when they're learning about equal. But equal means the same on both sides. So even if it was like this, 5 and 5, it's still the same number, the same quantity on each side. And one of the higher level thinking one that comes in June is you might have 5 and 7, and which one has more? 7. Which one has less? 5. How many more do I need to make 7? So that's like another standard, but that's also higher thinking. So they'll learn that they need to make, if they have 5 here, and you take away 5 here, they need 2 more to make 7. But that's not a skill that they can even grasp until they have the other foundations laid first. All right, and the last one is comparing 2 numbers between 1 and 10 represented in numerals. So just saying like we did before, here's my backwards 2. I lost one of my cards, so I'll just make another one. Is actually just having your numerals and showing them the numerals and say, okay, which one is less? 2. Sorry, I have my wrong cards. Which one is less? 2. Which one is more? 6. And if they're not getting this, I would take a step back to go to the picture. Because if they're not getting the numerals, they're probably still stuck in this phase, which is okay. But they need to master this before they can move on to the next. So anyway, that is the Counting and Cardinality Common Core Standards for all of kindergarten. I hope those strategies help you. Please feel free to contact me with any questions or if I could provide any more resources for you. Thanks and have a great day.